Hello, my name is Daniel Martínez-Villagrasa. Welcome to my e-poster entitled Evolution of the Surface Energy Balance and Evapotranspiration along the drying transition season over a semi-arid island. This video presents the work done by Camille Dept during an internship that took place in close collaboration with my fellow colleagues María Antonia Jiménez and Joan Cuixart. During her visit, Camille worked with experimental data recorded by our research station, which is installed at the campus of our university. This meteorological station contains all the necessary equipment to record all terms of the surface energy balance, a part of other measurements like an additional level for temperature and humidity close to the surface together with various sensors to monitor the soil conditions. The main objective of this work was to characterize the evolution of the surface energy balance around noon in our research site, which is placed in the island of Mallorca, in the middle of the western Mediterranean basin. The location of this island provides our observations with a semi-arid climate, and we wanted to analyze how these terms evolve along the drying transition period, giving a special interest to the evapotranspiration, since this term connects both the energy balance and the hydrological cycle. The research station is located at the university campus, halfway between the mountains to the north and the larger city of Mallorca to the south. The university campus is in a semi-rural area moderately heterogeneous. The vicinity of the station, though, is characterized by scattered trees and natural short vegetation that shuts off in summertime. Firstly, an attempt to classify the year in different periods was performed using the daily averages of soil water content at two different depths. The time series here starts in May and finishes at the end of the year. In orange and green colors, you can see the evolution of the soil moisture at 4 and 21 centimeters deep. In late spring, the water content remains steady at the bottom line, while it rises and sinks at the upper level, very close to the surface, reacting to the last raining episodes before summer. Several weeks after the last rain, the upper level gets drier than the lower one, initiating the dry season. The first rains at the end of summer increases the humidity at the whole layer, both levels moving up and down depending on precipitation. Finally, the amount of precipitated water is enough to establish a well-watered surface during the humid period. The periods before and after the dry season represent the transition stages. The different periods have been used to analyze the evolution of the surface energy balance terms along the year. Here, we see at noon how the surplus of energy carried out by net radiation is distributed by both turbulent heat fluxes into the atmosphere and by the ground heat flux into the soil. Green dots indicate the amount of energy that is not taken by the negative terms, representing what we called the residual or the energy imbalance. Note that in our station this imbalance oscillates around 100 watts square meter, being smaller during the summertime and especially during the humid period due to the less available energy. However, there are certain cases during the transition periods in which this residual falls well above that threshold. If we plot this imbalance against the air temperature, we see that the points with an imbalance above 100 watts square meter are concentrated over the transitions, the green and orange points, with mild temperatures. Similarly, if we plot the imbalance against the soil humidity, we see that the days with the largest imbalance falls within those values between the moist ground in winter and the dry soil in summertime. Actually, the points with the largest imbalance correspond to those days in which the combination of air temperature and soil moisture reaches maximum values. A high temperature and a moist soil are indeed conditions that favor the latent heat flux. To explore a little bit this idea of finding how well the latent heat flux is measured in our stations, we compared the Bowen ratio calculated with two different methodologies. The first one using the experimental turbulent fluxes measured directly with our research station. The second one is calculated using two measuring levels for air temperature and humidity, after assuming empirical relationships between the fluxes and the vertical gradients of these magnitudes. These relations depend on the turbulent diffusivities for heat and vapor, which are usually assumed to be the same. The Bowen ratio can then be calculated using the vertical gradients of temperature and vapor pressure. We see that both magnitudes differ completely during the dry period and less dramatically during the transitions. Only along the humid period both methodologies converge. To sum up, these preliminary results show that the surface energy imbalance at our research station can be larger during the transition periods, when both air temperature and soil moisture are large. This additional imbalance could be related to the latent heat flux, which is maybe not fully captured by our system through the eddy covariance technique. The Bowen ratio estimates through the gradients of temperature and water pressure differs largely from turbulent fluxes during the dry season. The assumptions that relate turbulent fluxes with vertical gradients under the framework of the similarity theory do not work for these conditions. Interestingly, both methods converge during the humid period. Our plans are to extend this analysis to the following years and further explore the role of the latent heat flux on the surface energy imbalance. We would like to thank Belén Martín and Cyril Duté for their help in the field work and also acknowledge the research project that has funded our experimental data. Thank you for listening.